Sidebar is the official podcast of the Napa County District Attorney's Office. Hello, everyone. This is Carlos Villatoro, and this is the Sidebar Podcast. And it's a busy month. Lots of awareness months. Child Abuse Prevention Month, as well as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, is celebrated in April. And so today on the Sidebar Podcast, I thought it would be good to have one of our veteran prosecutors here. Shashawnya Worley is here to talk to us a little bit about our efforts to prosecute these type of cases in Napa County. Shashawnya, welcome to the Sidebar Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So Shashawnya, I think I want to start off. Can you please tell us a little bit about the how long have you been here and what type of cases do you regularly handle?
Sure. So I have been a prosecutor for 8 years. I worked in our neighboring county, Solano County, before here. Mm-hmm. I've been in Napa a little over 3 years, and I am currently one of 2 deputy district attorneys on the sexual assault unit. I do sexual assault cases, both adult and children, child molest cases, child physical abuse cases, some human trafficking cases, and animal abuse.
Yes, and these are all cases that really hit at the core of the public's psyche. I know every time there's a story about an animal that's being abused or a child that's being abused, people really are concerned about that kind of crime. Yes. And so are we here, obviously, at the Napa County DA's office. But anyways, I just kind of I brought you on here to talk about child abuse. And I just kind of wanted to get from your perspective, how does the law define child abuse?
Okay. So child abuse is what we call in the legal field a wobbler, which means it can be either a felony or a misdemeanor, depending on the conduct. Mm-hmm. What differentiates the two is a felony requires an act to be under circumstances that's capable of causing great bodily injury or death. So if those circumstances aren't present, then it would be filed as a misdemeanor case. Mm-hmm. I kind of break it down into 3 categories of conduct. So the first category would be that you actually physically harm a child. So those are our typical what people think about when you think about child abuse. You're physically striking a child or causing physical or mental harm in that way. The second category would be that you are permitting or allowing a child to have physical or mental suffering. I like to think of those types of cases as where somebody fails to take action. So on these cases, maybe if you're in a home and you know that your spouse is causing injury and you do nothing to help the child or intervene. Yeah. And then the third category is that you put a child in a place where their well-being could be endangered. So for those types of cases, I like to think about like a DUI with a child in the car, or we have what are called DEC cases, drug endangered children. Mm-hmm. So children being in a home exposed to having drugs, drug paraphernalia, and all of the violence and negativity that goes along with that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. And when you think about the type of work that you do, the type of cases that you prosecute, what would be something that would be surprising to the average person to know about this type of work that you do?
So I think what was surprising to me in working with children is how resilient they are. I have children who come in for interviews or come in and testify at court and have had horrendous things happen to them, and they're still laughing and smiling and playing and have a lot of times what from the outside appears to be a very normal life. Mm-hmm. So I think the resiliency of children, a lot of people don't understand. They expect a child to be crying or maybe a little bit more emotionally or socially reserved or things like that, and I don't find that to be true necessarily.
Well, when you think about a child who's victimized, you think about the vulnerability of the child, and it's the same with the animal cases that you've seen come through the office as well. And so, that is rather surprising. I mean, I guess that's why these crimes are hit especially to the concern of the community, is because of the vulnerability of the child. Would you say?
Yeah, a lot of these kids are in situations they have no way to get out of. They're, at a home with their parents or some other adult figure. They don't necessarily have the opportunity or ability to leave if they want to. Oftentimes they don't have a voice or a way to speak up. Some of these kids don't have a trusted or protecting adult to even tell that something is going on. So the unfortunate reality for a lot of kids is the abuse goes on for a long period of time until they get to some sort of place of safety, or a safe, trusted adult does come into their life. A lot of times these cases are reported to teachers, pastors, other adult figures, like maybe a friend's parent or things like that. So until a child can reach a place of safety or be separated from the offender, the abuse kind of continues.
Yeah. Now, no two cases are alike. Every case has different sets of facts and circumstances. But in your experience, what does a typical child abuse case look like?
So I have to answer that with the lawyerly answer that there isn't a typical case. Because child abuse encompasses a wide variety of conduct. It can be something as simple as not meeting the basic needs of your child, or leaving your child in a hot car or something like that, all the way up to causing very serious injuries. So I wouldn't say that there is a typical case, and just based on the nature of working with children, they react very differently to situations. So I can't really say there's a typical case.
Yeah, there isn't no typical case because, like I said, I mean, every case is different, especially the cases that, come across the desk of the district attorney's office, not only here, but everywhere. Right? So this is very difficult work that you do there, Ms. Worley. How do you keep yourself grounded, and what keeps you motivated?
For me personally, it is the idea of being able to help somebody who can't necessarily help themselves, giving them a voice in court, and really supporting somebody through a difficult situation, a child that maybe their family members don't believe them, they don't have support at home. So being somebody that is willing to stand up for them. I also have to say, I can't even explain the feeling that I get when I have a child that gets to the point of coming and sitting on the stand in court and testifying and standing up to their abuser. It's an incredible thing to watch and an incredible feeling to have, to give them the opportunity to say their truth about what happened to them. It
goes back to the point you made about the resiliency of the child, where it's rather intimidating to be in a court, especially for someone who's not used to being in a court, and then to be part of a case and where you have to testify. It's hard enough to do that as an adult, guys. But I can't imagine having to do that as a child, where everything is foreign and everything is strange, and the language that's used, and it could be very daunting. So I guess, with this whole process, this court process, the criminal justice process, how do you make sure that a child's voice is heard through that?
So for me personally, I do several meetings with child witnesses before we even get to the phase of going to court. They come to the office, or if they can't come to the office, we will go to them, whether that be at their house, at a foster parent's house, their school. However we make that happen, that is what we will do. During those meetings, I like to start the first one just to talk about the kid, what their interests are, what sports or clubs or subjects they're interested in, whether they have pets or not. I tell them about my French bulldogs and my cats and things like that, just to kind of start building rapport and show them that I am a trusted adult and I'm on their side. We do courtroom tours. So take the child to court and let them know this is what it's going to look like the day of. Here's where the judge will sit. Here's where the clerk sits. Here's where I sit. There's a bailiff. Here's where the offender would sit, their attorney. So they have kind of some sort of expectation about what the court day will look like. Our office also provides a quiet, safe space for them while they're waiting to testify on the day of. So we have a room, actually a couple of rooms in the courthouse. There's coloring books and snacks and water and things like that, some toys, so that they can occupy their time while they're waiting, because that's really the not fun part of court. And then they get to have, they have an advocate that comes with them, whether that be from our office or news or saves. And then they can bring other individuals. I always tell them, whoever you want to bring that's not a part of the case, you can. If you have a friend, an aunt, an uncle, mom or dad, depending on who the offender is, anybody that would help them feel comfortable and supported the day of, they can bring to court with them as well. And then we have our wonderful dog, Pika, who goes to court with a lot of our kiddos.
Our social media darling, Pika, is always at the ready for the court appearances. So a lot of people, and I'm talking about me mostly, because whenever I see crime shows on Netflix or, wherever I see them, I'm following along the plot closely, and I think, oh, this is a slam dunk case. This guy has to be convicted, and I want them to get convicted. And something happens where they get off, or something happens in the plot line. So the audience is left thinking, what went wrong, right? Are these cases ever a slam dunk? I mean, are there complexities involved? What's your comments on that?
I think that child abuse cases in general and child sexual abuse cases are some of the hardest cases in the office. Just by their nature, these are typically things that happen behind closed doors. There's no witnesses. There's a lot of times no corroborating evidence.
Yeah.
And while we try to not make it feel like this, it's an immense amount of pressure for a child to feel that the entire case rests on them.
Yeah.
I try and explain when I have these meetings with them that they're not the ones putting the charges forward. They're not the ones making the decision to convict, things like that, to try and lessen that. Their only job is to go to court and to tell the truth about what happened to them, and that we want to support them in any way they can. On, I'd say, probably 90% of these cases, the offender is some sort of trusted, loved adult, whether that be a parent or a sibling or another family member, sometimes coaches, teachers, things like that.
Yeah.
So that makes it difficult for a child. Sometimes even if something bad happened to them, they don't want the person to get in trouble. Another thing I commonly see is after a period of reporting, the child has then seen what the consequences of that are. So some kids get removed from the home and put in child welfare placement. Sometimes the offender is removed from the home and put in jail or has to live elsewhere. They get pressure from other family members to not cooperate or to take back their statement. So these cases are really difficult, and when you're dealing with children, you don't know what you're going to get the day of the hearing.
Yeah, so there's an immediacy. They feel the impact right away because, as you said, their loved one is maybe put in jail, or maybe they have to leave the home. Everyone's sad around the house, and they see that. Yeah, and they have to absorb that, unfortunately. Yeah, as part of the case. So, but this is an effort that the county undertakes, not unilaterally. There's a whole team behind the work that you do. Tell me a little bit about the type of multidisciplinary collaboration that you are involved in.
Sure. We have a wonderful team that I work here in Napa County with. Our team includes obviously members of law enforcement from our various different agencies, whether that be the Sheriff's Department or Napa Police Department or some of our North Valley agencies. So usually there will be a detective of some sort involved in the case. We have members of child welfare services that come to assist with the child, assist with if they need to be removed from the home and put them in placement. They do safety planning with families. We have SANE SART if it's a sexual abuse type case. They have wonderful nurses that do exams. So they assist on that and will collaborate with us on whether we need to do a full exam, a partial, just external, things like that, depending on what the scenario is. My favorite person on the team is always the advocate. I work very closely with my advocates, and they do a wonderful job in keeping the family informed about what's going on in court, providing a variety of different services, whether that be linking somebody up with therapy services, getting them appropriate clothes for court, new shoes. I've seen them get people assistance with housing, food, book bag and and pencils and things for school. They provide a large array of services to our victims, which is wonderful, and it's just one less thing that I have to think about, so it's nice to have somebody else on the team.
Yeah, and those are some of those immediate needs that a family might need when something like this occurs. And it's, a lot of this work is performed and done at the Monarch Justice Center and the Courage Center as well, where there's a whole team of people involved in this. And one of the things that I love about the Monarch Justice Center and the Courage Center is that it's not like you're walking into a police station or a district attorney's office, which can be a little bit clinical and a little bit colder. But when you walk into the Monarch Justice Center, there's an immediate sense of calmness that is warm and welcoming. You're greeted with a smile, and there's there are toys laid about and different comfy chairs, and I think that it's conducive to the type of work that you guys do.
I agree. It's more of a home-like setting than coming into some type of sterile government building.
Yeah, it's intimidating. It is. So for the people who don't know a lot about child abuse and the signs to look for, what are some of the signs that people should be aware of?
So, like I said earlier, every child reacts differently. Some of the things that I have seen in the various cases I've worked on, it's a wide array of things, but usually if it's a child that you're intimately familiar with, small changes in behavior, it's more difficult if you don't regularly see or know a child. A big one that I think a lot of times gets missed is physical injuries, unfortunately. Obviously, children play rough, they fall down. So it's common for children to have scratches or bruises or things like that. But if there's a child who regularly is having that, maybe asking questions, or if there's an injury that can't be explained or an odd story is given, to not just kind of brush it off and let it go, to do some follow-up. Yeah. If children are coming in with black eyes or things like that. Another common one in the more failure to provide necessities realm would be children coming in wearing the same clothes or dirty clothes. I think that's one we see a lot in schools, that teachers will notice a child maybe is lacking in hygiene, and it might be that the family can't afford hygiene products, and that's something that we can assist with, getting them a toothbrush and soap and shampoo and things like that to help. So just keeping an eye out for those things. Children who are normally very boisterous and outgoing becoming more reserved or shy. And then a lot of times we see children act out what has happened to them. So if a child is being hit at home, they may start hitting other students at school or hitting their siblings. And we see this particularly in sexual cases, that they start acting out in a sexual way. Oh,
wow. Yeah. One of the things that I picked up over the years, a tidbit from other prosecutors who have taught about this particular topic, the sexual assault of a child. If there's a person who takes more interest in your child than you do, then that's a big warning sign. And that's something that I've always kind of kept in the back of my mind, raising my two daughters, and just like, if there's somebody who, wants to always be with you, or finds, not all the time, obviously, but if there's somebody who goes out of their way to be nice to the child, buys them things, and is always finding opportunities to be alone with them, then that's always caused me personally cause for concern. Not that it ever happened to me, but I was always on the lookout for that.
Yeah, those are certainly some common red flags to look out for.
Yeah. So without going into details or anything like that, is there a case that has stuck with you through the years?
I have a lot of cases, to be honest. Particularly in my current assignment, working with young children that have been sexually abused. I have kids that I think about on a daily basis and wonder where they are and what they're doing now. I have a couple of victims that I still maintain contact with, some of the older kids. Wow. Okay. So it's kind of nice to see where they are now and being past the court process and separated from what happened to them, that they can go on to live happy, healthy lives. We get high school graduation notices that kids are going off to college and things like that. So it's nice to see them come out the other side.
Yeah, no, we don't want people to be abused or assaulted in any way whatsoever. But when it happens to them, hearing that they are thriving is just music to my ears. Yeah, that's amazing. So what can somebody in the community do if they feel that somebody's being abused either physically or sexually? Are there any resources or any way for them to get assistance?
Yeah, so I think a good policy to have is if you see something, say something. I think we have a duty to protect children because, like I said earlier, a lot of times they don't have the ability to remove themselves. So just being vigilant, paying attention, especially if you're in a role where you regularly interact with kids. Reporting, whether that be to law enforcement or child welfare, if you're a younger adult or maybe a peer of somebody, reporting to a trusted adult. I would rather see an investigation take place and them determine that there isn't abuse than a child to continue to be abused because somebody didn't say something.
So even if it's small, right? Even if it's just like, has you scratching your head.
Yeah.
It's better to report that. And
I think so.
Yeah.
Obviously within reason, but I think it's better to have a set of eyes look it over and just make sure, because sometimes people start small and then the abuse gets worse and worse and worse. So it's always good to catch a case at the beginning and offer services, separate a family, whatever the case may be at that time, than to allow an abuse to continue and get worse over time.
I agree with that as well. Well, I don't have any other questions for you. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you feel would be important for us to know? I know there are some events coming up, some dates.
I have 4 events that I would like to highlight. So number 1, blue is the color of child abuse prevention. Some of the public may have noticed that there are blue pinwheels all around town. Those pinwheels are to signify children that have been abused and provide hope and healing to them. I think that there were 65 children confirmed to have experienced maltreatment last year. So if you go down to Health and Human Services, you'll see there are 65 blue pinwheels out front.
Oh, interesting.
So there's also Cope Kids Day, which is a free event that you can bring your family and kids to. It is Saturday, May 2nd from 11 to 2 at Oxbow Commons. They will have a bunch of vendors. I think our office may have a table there to provide services and information. And then there's a lot of fun things for kids to do. So that is a great free event. For adults, there is a campaign called Paint the Town Blue, which is a bunch of local businesses are participating in it, and a portion of their proceeds go to support basically child abuse prevention. So there's fun things like blue cocktails, and I saw that maybe there was a blueberry cheesecake, some candles and things. Yeah. So if you go to Cope's website, you can find all of the participating businesses and help support that way. Obviously, you can make independent donations outside of that. For Sexual Assault Awareness Month, there is an event that's happening on Sunday, May 2nd at 2 p.m. also at Oxbow Commons, and that is called a Walk a Mile event. Our office will have a team there, and my partner, Michelle, and I will be there. I'm probably going to bring my dog, and we'll just, making our faces seen and support survivors of sexual assault.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the last thing is April 29th is Denim Day, which is a day where you wear denim to support survivors of sexual assault. And it actually has a very interesting story behind it. It comes from, there was a case in Italy, actually, where the Supreme Court reversed a conviction, finding that because a woman was wearing tight jeans, she must have helped her offender take them off during the assault.
Yeah.
After that decision, the women in the Italian parliament wore jeans to work the next day to help support and show support for that victim that they didn't believe that was right.
Yeah.
So now every year on April 29th, we wear denim to show support to all survivors.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. But that's a good cause. I love that. So in case you missed any of these announcements, we'll make sure to list them in the description of this video so that you guys can pick which ones you want to go to. I would advise go to all of them because this is a very important topic and we need the community support to raise awareness. And I think that's going to be it for the Sidebar Podcast. I want to thank my guest here, Shashawnya Worley. And if you want some more information, please visit our social media sites. We have an X, we have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and a LinkedIn. And I will see you next time.